You know, on Saturday, the last Mission Impossible movie comes out. The 7th movie in this series that goes back to 1996. And I was thinking, if Tom Cruise can launch a motorbike off a mountain and then dispatch a parachute in midair and then land on a moving train and take out a terrorist, then Essendon can beat the Western Bulldogs. So the teams are in for the big Mission Impossible match for the Bombers against the Western Bulldogs on Saturday night. Before we get to the teams, just quickly, the AFL has released the fixture for rounds 16 to 23. Everybody was waiting for that, wondering when they can get tickets. People need to, book their accommodation if they're travelling interstate and all that sort of stuff. So we'll just have a quick look at that and when the Bombers are going to be playing, if there's any 5-day breaks, things like that may affect us in that last portion of the season. Round 16, we have a bye anyway, so it doesn't affect us there. Round 17, we are fixtured to play at the Gold Coast on Saturday afternoon at Marvel Stadium at 12:35. Then round 18, we play Richmond, a Richmond home game at the MCG on Saturday night, Saturday, July the 12th. Then round 19, we have a 5-day break going into a tough game against GWS. We get that at home at Marvel Stadium. So that is a tough one. They also have a 5-day break, I might add, and they're travelling. So it's not really any disadvantage to us. It's a little bit similar, I guess, to the game against Port Adelaide earlier this year, where we had a 5-day break and they had a 5-day break and we were the home team. So it's probably a good thing when you got 2 5-day breaks against each other. So Essendon against GWS, Friday night, round 19. Round 20, we have a Friday night game against the Western Bulldogs. That will be our Friday night game, our home game. Round 21, we play the Sydney Swans in a twilight match on Saturday afternoon, Saturday twilight, going into the evening there. Round 22, we are away at GMHBA Stadium against Geelong on a Friday night. Fat chance we've got a winning that one. And round 23, Essendon versus St Kilda on a Friday night. There are 2 Friday night games that round. Fremantle are also playing Brisbane. But round 24, we actually, of course, do have the 2 games in round 24. We play Carlton and Gold Coast. They are yet to be fixtured. Obviously, the make-up game against Gold Coast, that will come a bit further down the track. The AFL always release that fixture a bit further down the track. I have a feeling they're going to have Essendon and Carlton on a Thursday night. And they're going to have Gold Coast versus Port Adelaide on a Friday night. And then they're going to have Essendon versus Gold Coast, a make-up game on the Wednesday. So we'll have a 6-day break after the Thursday night game against Carlton. This is my prediction, by the way, for round 24. This is not official. We'll have a 6-day break. Gold Coast will have a 5-day break, but they're the home team. And then both teams would have a 10-day break for a potential finals match if either of them were to make it. Gold Coast look pretty certain that they will. But anyway, that is the fixture for the rounds 16 to 23. Round 24 is still to be confirmed. So on to the teams now for the Western Bulldogs versus Essendon. First, the Western Bulldogs. They have 2 changes to their lineup. Taylor Duray is in and Arthur Jones. And Harvey Gallagher and Caleb Poulter out. Bailey Dale, interestingly, didn't play last time Essendon played the Western Bulldogs earlier last year when we beat them by 29 points. Bailey Dale actually is ranked the best kick in the AFL officially, right? The best kick in the AFL officially. He's hitting targets about 10% more than what the numbers say he should be hitting them, according to expectations. So he didn't play last time. He's obviously a very good player for them. So you can see their lineup on the screen there. As for the Bombers, we have just the one change, and it's a pretty predictable change. Jayden Laverde comes into the side for Lewis Hayes. So essentially, it's Laverde for Hayes for Ridley. Laverde is kind of the third choice for that particular position. He had 32 possessions in the reserves. He was one of our best players. He's been one of our best players in the reserves over the last couple of weeks since he came back from suspension. And he is going to have to fill in admirably, and he's going to have to do a pretty good job down there because it's going to be a pretty potent Western Bulldogs forward line that we're going to have to stop. And the longer this week goes, the more pessimistic I am about this game. I hope I'm wrong, maybe that's a good sign. Maybe if the club's feeling that way as well, then they're... Maybe if the club feels that way as well, they're going to be as prepared as possible. But look, we'll see. So Jayden Laverde into the side, actually named on the interchange bench as is. So we'll just go through the team from back line to forward line. You've got Andrew McGrath, Ben Mackay and Archie Roberts across the full back line. Mason Redman, Zach Reed, who did suffer a bit of a knock at training yesterday, got the knee in the back from Kyle Langford. And Jackson Pryor round out the half back line. Xavier Dersma, Zach Merritt and Archer Day Wicks across the centre line. I suspect that Archer Day Wicks possibly could have come out of the side, but it's good to see him retain his spot in the team. I think it's always good when you make your debut, if you can get that second game back-to-back to get a bit of consistency. I always think it's a good sign or a good thing to do. If you debut them 2 weeks in a row. Right? Obviously, you can't just guarantee them games indefinitely, but I reckon if you give someone 2 games in a row or even 3 just to prove themselves and then start making decisions on them after that, it's probably the way to go. Half forward line, Archie Perkins, Nate Caddy, who's probably coming off his 3 best games consecutively. Last 3 games, he's kicked 2 goals 3, 2 goals 3 and 3 goals 1, which are the 3 biggest outputs he's had in a game, and they've come in his last 3 games. So it sort of feels like he's about to explode. And then Nick Martin rounding out the half forwards. Kyle Langford, Peter Wright and Isaac Kako. The rucks, Todd Goldstein, Jai Caldwell and Sam Durham. And the interchange bench, Hobbs, Dylan Shield, Setterfield, Laverde and Sardo Hooley. The emergencies, Elijah Sartis, so there's always a chance he could come in. It's probably expected he would be first emergency given he had the 39 possessions in the reserves last weekend. Angus Clark, who's obviously closing in on his first game, and Zach Johnson, who everybody has been talking about as their favourite player in the VFL, who we can't wait to make his debut. Hopefully that's not too far away. So there is the team. Pretty predictable in some respects. Jayden Laverde in. I know he divides opinion, guys, but look, we're going to have someone come in there for Lewis Hayes. So that is the team. So what do you guys think of the team? What changes would you have made? Would you have been a little bit more liberal with the choices you have made? Would you have made a couple of other changes to the side? I think it's probably okay. Maybe I would have brought in Sartis, but it kind of feels like this. It's not that Sartis isn't good enough. Well, you can debate that. I mean, I guess that comes down to a matter of opinion, but it's just more that he doesn't really seem to fit in with the structure really at the moment, just the type of player that he is. But anyway, he's first emergency, so we will see. So I'll leave it there. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Have a great day, everybody. And as always, go Bombers.